Good morning, how are you doing today? For today's video, I just have a very quick review of the brand new single launch fragrance from Bath & Body Works called Sweetest Song. A preview of this fragrance is already available in stores and online in the forms of hand cream, pocket back hand sanitizer, as well as the little stick perfume, the little mini purse-sized EDPs. And the review that I'm going to be giving is going to be based off of that little stick concentrated perfume. This is actually what we received for our Spring 3 gratis for Bath & Body Works employees. I know I explain this every time I mention it, but in case if you're new or you've never heard it before, I like to kind of give you a recap of what gratis is. At Bath & Body Works, the employees receive what we call gratis, which is essentially a gift from the company of whatever new products that we have going on, so that way we're able to give a personal testimony while selling these fragrances. So we receive different gratises roughly once a month or at every new theme floor set. So these concentrated perfumes were our Spring 3 gratis. There is quite an expansive body care line for this collection. There's going to be a high availability of lots of different forms in the body care especially. So I know for sure that this fragrance is going to have fine fragrance mist, shower gel, and body lotion. I think there's body cream, although I don't think my store has received any yet, so that might be up in the air. For sure there is going to be body butter. I believe there is a moisturizing body wash, the concentrated perfume both in the full size as well as the travel size that I'm going to be reviewing today. And then there's going to be travel sizes. And then kind of on the more weird side, there will be some of the salt soaks, kind of like you see in the aromatherapy section. There is going to be Sweetest Song bath salt. So on the website, it says it smells like music that takes you back to the best day ever. And the fragrance notes are blush raspberries, sugar crystals, and whipped musk. So looking at a branding perspective of this fragrance, I think that this is a win in terms of the fact that you can tell they're kind of going the nostalgia route a little bit when they say that it's music that takes you back to the best day ever. Music is something that we often refer to as being one of those things that can take you back when you hear it, and I think fragrance is no different. When you smell a scent, it can have the ability to take you back. So I think that the concept of this fragrance being almost like a photo album for your senses of scent, I think that that's actually a really clever idea, and it makes sense for this time of year. So the events that they're kind of playing upon at this time of year is we've got Mother's Day around the corner, and then wedding season is also coming up. I think June is often kind of the month that's mainly associated with weddings. So I think between the concept of this fragrance, kind of the backstory of where they're going with it, as well as the packaging and the name of the fragrance, I think that all of those things are very on point for both Mother's Day or weddings. So here is a closer look at my EDP. I love the light blue and the pink, although it is kind of reminding me of, I know there was a trend kind of back in the early to mid 2010s that everything like French patisserie and the pastel blues, pinks, white paisley swirls, cupcake shop kind of vibe. I feel like that was really popular, and this is kind of throwing me back to that concept. It's time to open this up and give it a sniff. I'm gonna smell it first on paper and then on my skin. All right, so I've got the plastic off, and something that's important to note too is I know a lot of people are unaware that these are actually not roller balls. They are little mini spritzers, which for me is a plus because I know they say that with roller balls, it kind of, I don't know, it's not as hygienic, or it can get like skin cells in it if you're using it a lot and kind of compromise the fragrance or the quality or whatever. I don't know, that's kind of looking deep into it, but I think I prefer myself a spritzer just because it kind of keeps the product inside pure, but I'm not entirely sure how much it really matters, but take that information with what you will. Time to spray it on the card. Ooh, I like it so much better at home than I did at the store. I feel like I say that a lot. Everything smells so much better in a more neutral space. Whenever I smell things in the store, I'm like, it doesn't smell good. It just all smells like perfume. Oh yeah, but I am enjoying this a lot more than my initial sniff when I was in stores. So my first hit was that it was kind of a little bit of what I would consider a fancy perfumey scent. I think fragrances that have quite a blended assortment of fragrance notes kind of make me think, ooh, it's like a fancy blended experience, like a perfumer really handcrafted lots of different things to make this scent. And that's kind of what I got from this one. I know that the single launch fragrance tend to be more this way at Bath & Body Works because they kind of want it to be a statement fragrance, as opposed to when they do collections that all kind of match packaging. They have maybe 3 to 5 different fragrances all in the same collection. I feel like those ones are more like singular noted kind of scents, if that makes sense. For example, during fall, between like 2014 to 2019 time, they always had an apple, a pear, a pumpkin and a vanilla or something like that, where it was kind of like a one of each kind of experience. But single launch fragrances, and this one is definitely included in this statement, is more of a handcrafted, complex situation. Which is funny because the notes listed kind of suggest that it's going to be simple. I feel like when you have a berry and then sugar, it's just going to be kind of like, I don't know, you kind of can guess what that smells like. But this one kind of takes you a different direction. Also, something to be said about the notes listing, they are quite deceptive because lately they've been doing this cotton candy dilemma where they've been pretty much whipping out a fragrance every year that is some rendition of sugar, berry, and musk. Things like cotton candy clouds, among the clouds, cloud 9, whipped berry meringue, macaron cloud. It's kind of like they all kind of remind me of each other, or they're all so similar that they aren't worth owning all of them. It's kind of like you've smelled it once, you've smelled them all. I was worried about this fragrance being that case because once again, it follows that same formula. Berry, sugar, musk. But thankfully, I find that this is very different than all of those types of fragrances. I feel like times like this, I miss when they used to have a breakdown of the top, middle, and base notes because you could really get an idea of more what you were smelling. And sometimes there'll be like one little sneaky note in there that you actually find is like more of a main feature note that other people don't necessarily detect. So I did actually notice hints of floral when I first sprayed it. I wouldn't say it was rosy necessarily. It almost was like a little bit of a powdery, white, creamy floral when I first smelled it. But as it dries down, I'm actually noticing a little bit more of those fruity notes. I'm actually sensing a little hint of like a grapefruit peel kind of scent in there. Yeah, so I need to smell this on my skin. Ooh, the mister really went well that time. I find oftentimes at Bath & Body Works when I spray, it's like and just like a little dribble comes out. But that time, like I pressed it down and the button had a long time to get to the bottom and it was like, psh, which I really like it when a mist does that. So that's not something I'm used to with Bath & Body Works. Okay. Trying to decide what to say about this. On my skin, it's better. So once again, always try it on your skin after you've tried the paper, because it takes it different places. I tend to pull citrusy and lemony notes. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. In this case, I think it's a good thing because it's taking it a fruitier route, which is more aligning with my preference of fragrance. I tend to not like florals or musks very much, so having it be more of that citrusy raspberry experience is pleasant for me. I find that this fragrance is also very nostalgic to some of their older fragrances back in the days of the garden party theme. Like I know there was a lavender apricot and a raspberry mint leaf and like those types of fragrances. Even the clementine magnolia is kind of reminding me of a fragrance that would normally have been a part of those garden tea party collections, which is good because I miss that style of packaging and scent creating that they used to do back then. And I feel like this one is kind of throwing it back to those days. That being said though, I will say that this one is a little bit more of a fancy schmancy kind of scent, and I think it's because there is a little hint of that kind of flowery garden note in there. It almost has like a lush green scent, but then you're kind of like smelling it and you're like, is it rose? Is it floral? Like it's kind of hard to pinpoint flower kind of scent. But on my skin, like I said, the raspberry and like I said, that mysterious little grapefruit note is definitely coming out. Okay, before I wrap this up, I actually wanted to compare it to a fragrance that a lot of people will be familiar with that is maybe kind of similar, at least in the note listing. And it's also kind of within theme of the concept of throwing it back and nostalgia and trying to have a fragrance capture a memory and take you back to that moment. And that fragrance is the Sun-Ripened Raspberry. This is one of their classic 90s fragrances, so I know that this scent in particular is one of those ones when you smell it, it's going to take you back to some time in your life when you originally smelt this fragrance. Since, like I said, it's been around since the 90s, so a lot of people have experienced it before. Notes on this one are sun-ripened raspberry, strawberry leaves, and sugar crystals. So they share two notes that are very similar. There is the raspberry and there is the sugar crystal. I love wearing this fragrance. It is very nostalgic to me. So brand new Sweetest Song is on this side, and the sun-ripened raspberry I've sprayed now on this side. So smelling them back to back, Sun-Ripened Raspberry is more of a straightforward fragrance. It's definitely more juicy and fruity. When I smell them back to back, it really brings out the fact that this almost could smell like a raspberry jam, like it's kind of giving that sugary jammy kind of scent. Smelling them back to back like this really helps me pick out the differences, and so I can describe this better. Way more powdery on Sweetest Song than the Sun-Ripened Raspberry. I really can see this smelling like somebody's wedding fragrance. As it dries on my skin, I'm almost detecting notes of like honey. It's almost like orangey or like a honey kind of scent, but not necessarily like a sweet edible honey, but more of like a clover floral honey, if that makes sense. I can't help myself, but Sun-Ripened Raspberry is my favorite of the two if I had to pick between them. It smells better on my skin, and it does have those memories associated with it, and it's just way more fruity and just kind of a classic fruity berry raspberry scent, while the Sweetest Song is going a little bit more on the fancy-ish, out of my realm. I tend to like more of a body splash kind of fragrance as opposed to a more sophisticated perfume-like scent, which I know a lot of people prefer the perfume sophistication behind a fragrance. So if that's the case for you, you may enjoy Sweetest Song better. All right, you're gonna have to let me know down in the comments below. Have you gotten a chance to smell Sweetest Song? Did you try it on your skin? You'll have to let me know if you liked it on the card better or on your skin better. I actually preferred the fragrance on my skin as opposed to the card because I feel like it transformed it into a little bit more of a citrus honeyed kind of scent, which is really interesting to see how it differs from person to person. But either way, I hope this review was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.